Hi, thank you everybody for making your way here. I know there are 3 tracks and yet this is 1/3 of your choice, so it's good that you're here and I welcome you to find out about the life cycle of charities. So I'm just making an opening address because the real work is going to be done by Ernst & Young today, with the facilitators coming from Ernst & Young as well as SHRI. So I want to acknowledge both our partners. Right, so ultimately what we're going to have a conversation on how you can communicate such that trust is built and not broken. So this morning we talk about all the different ways trust can be built and how it can be broken as well. And I'd like you to look at it from the upstream version, which is you're really doing this to achieve the highest level of public and also private trust. We talk about private donors are just as important. From the life cycle perspective, and this is something the council is starting to work on because we want to know down to more details the landscape and diversity of the sector, and particularly from the viewpoint of life cycle. Right, so for those of you who were around this morning, I talked about this. What are the main tenets of trust? And with regards to charities, what are the additional things that you would have to focus on? Yeah, which is financial stewardship, impact reporting, and as well how you showcase your ethical behaviors and integrity when it comes to decision making. Just a bit more definition of financial stewardship. It is that donors and the public want to see all of you using your money efficiently, and also that your programs fulfill your mission in making a difference to the community and also not overspending it on administrative costs. So that's important. Impact, yeah, public trust is boosted by the evidence that you are really making a difference in your customers, beneficiaries' lives. Not just that they have 1 extra meal a day. That's really not what we're gunning for. It's really that their lives have changed as a result of your service. And a lot has to do with data collection, yeah, on the program outcomes, whether you collect testimonies from your beneficiary, and of course, a clear explanation on how the donation is being used. And of course, ethical conduct. It is very clear to you, you must avoid scandals. It is less clear to you how you communicate your ethics, yeah, and there is we're trying to get a partner who can help you with that, yeah, in the near future, and we're talking about 2025. And of course, your fundraising is the most visible to the public, yeah, whether it's door-to-door or even through campaigns. They are the ones who are directly witnessing how you raise funds. Yeah, so it's important that avoid conflicts of interest, and also very, very important, your staff and your volunteers are the touch points. They're the touch points during the fundraising campaign. And if you're not able to articulate what is the impact you're trying to achieve with the funds that you're raising, you know, that is a sure killer for credibility. So I really want to get quickly into the life cycle of charities. I learned about this many, many years ago, as long as 5, 6, 7 years ago, as I was trying to figure out how charities differ and how can sector developers help them. Yeah, and this was something that I believe in. Charities grow through a growth stage, a beginning stage, which is the startup. Then they grow and they get to the impact stage, yeah, which mostly the large charities, the IPCs, presumably would be at the impact-making stage, meaning they are able to articulate their impact. But whatever it is, no matter how good you are, there will come a time when you stagnate. Right? This is just the life cycle. And at the stagnation, you will have boards, leaders will have to decide, do we want to carry on or do we not? If we want to carry on, how do we renew our mission? Yeah? And if you renew the mission, you're back to the growth stage, isn't it? I mean, you can't jump to the next S-curve overnight. You have to work at it. Yeah, and there would be some charities that say, perhaps we've already achieved what we set out to do. So honorably, just step out, move on to another charity. Yeah, so that's no shame in that. And what's important is that at every stage of the life cycle, the boards behave differently, right? So if you're at the startup stage, you're likely to be a working board, yeah. So the board members will roll up their sleeve and actually get involved in operational work, yeah. When you look at governance books, they tell you, no, boards shouldn't get involved in operational work. But the reality is, if you're a startup, boards do get involved, right? So we don't want to turn a blind eye to this. We want to acknowledge this and see how governance can be regarded in this perspective. Then you move to a managing board at the growth stage, whereby board do all the strategic work, but also part of the management work. And the management, of course, do all the management work, right? Because at the growth stage, you may still not have all the resources you need to fulfill the organizational objectives. Yeah. Then you move to a governing board, which is why when you attend every governance class, they will tell you have to do A to Z. And really, it applies to a fully governing board. This is our expectation of the Tier 2 charities, the large charities as well as the IPCs. You must be a governing board. We do not expect to see you as a working board, neither a managing board. Yeah, so therein lies the difference. And for those of you who are here, we do want to support you to get to a level of impact achievement. And I mentioned earlier, nothing stays status quo for too long. You know, if the charity starts to stagnate or even decline, it becomes a rectifying board. Yeah. Looking back, what are the decisions we could have made better? Perhaps we should make some changes to the mission, to the structure, to the programs, and it's all about ratifying what you have decided before, right? And ultimately, if it comes to a decision that you're going to close down the charity, a disengaged board is fine. I mean, you don't want an active board at the end of a life cycle, right? It's really, how do we do it responsibly and honorably? Right, so at the startup stage, I mentioned a working board. The focus is really about building the track record. Yeah, you want to focus on building your track record. Yeah, your programs, your beneficiaries, the impact that you're making. Use the testimonies from your beneficiaries and focus on impact measure. Yeah, so surely you have KPIs, but try to go beyond that, beyond the KPIs, beyond the number of meals served. How are you changing your customers' behaviors? How is their life changing as a result of that change in mindset and values? Right? As you move towards a growth stage, you are managing board. It's really about really understanding the governance practices, yeah, and build donor relations and showcasing your expanding impact, right? So I'm just getting you all to be more focused, yeah, so that you don't spread yourself too thin and you end up doing nothing well, right? And at the mature stage, yes, everything A to Z, Code of Governance, Charities Act, everything you got to follow in good spirit, yeah. And by now you would have adapted to evolving expectations, change in market needs, and this is where innovation comes in. Of course, innovation also comes in the startup and growth stage. But I'm putting it here because sometimes innovation comes at a cost when you want to automate digitization, buying of new infrastructure and all that. Yeah, and succession planning is super important at this point. Keeping your talents, yeah, to maintain the momentum, and of course, invest in legacy building if there is a need. Then we move to the next stage. At the stagnate stage where there's a rectifying board, you may want to consider which other charity can I team up with? Perhaps a merger. That's not something you shouldn't consider. Yeah? And I mentioned before, restructure and having open communications with your stakeholders, with your donors. Yeah? Because they may have invested in you, not knowing that you're actually stagnating. But if you are, engage them sincerely, openly, and continue to get their support. Now, if you do decide to renew, then I mentioned earlier, revisit the mission, be transparent about the change, be brave, talk to your stakeholders and say, we are changing, we want to get your support. Take the risk, you might lose some of them, but you might gain some, right? Because if you're moving on to a new mission, there will be supporters that come. So have that confidence. Yeah, and this is also the time to rebrand and re-image. If it's at the decline stage, yes, look at responsible winding now, preserve your legacy, and make it very, very clear to the stakeholders that we have done what we set out to do, okay? And of course, if you are deciding to grow after the renewal stage, then you're back to a managing or governing board, depending on what kind of resources you already have. Okay, so at this point in time, I would like to invite Ernst & Young to take over, yeah, and they're going to facilitate some very interesting dialogues among you. Okay, I'll be here. I'll see you later.